Bienvenidos a esta sesión del Fórum de Egiptología y Acción Exterior que celebra los 100 años de relaciones comerciales entre Europa y Egipto. Agradezco muchísimo la asistencia y la participación tan comprometida del excelentísimo doctor Mustafa Wasiri, secretario general del Consejo Supremo de Antigüedades en el Ministerio de Turismo y Antigüedades del Gobierno de Egipto. Es una persona absolutamente de referencia en el ámbito de la egiptología, de la gestión del patrimonio arqueológico y, bueno, pues es una oportunidad única para poder conocer precisamente de uno de sus protagonistas los últimos avances y el camino hacia el que se dirige esta cuestión de gran importancia cultural, pero que también vemos que trasciende pues, a la estrategia de un país y su posicionamiento en el mundo y sus relaciones con nosotros. También doy la bienvenida al excelentísimo vicerrector de estudios de la Universidad de Málaga, también por su compromiso con la cultura, desde la propia formación del alumnado, la implicación con nuestras instituciones, porque son unos lazos que tenemos que mantener siempre, ¿no? Y, por supuesto, al director de la Fundación Instituto de Estudios del Alto Egipto, que ha sido el catalizador para estos encuentros que comenzó ayer y que nos permite pues, poder estar hoy aquí hablando de la cultura en un sentido muy amplio. La cultura, precisamente, desde el ámbito del patrimonio, pero entendida no solamente con la idea de monumento, con la que nosotros asociamos pues, los grandes elementos que nos dan memoria de la antigüedad. Tampoco hablamos estrictamente de la cultura como un documento que nos informa de las distintas etapas históricas y que queda reflejado pues, en todos los elementos muebles y objetos de la cultura material. Hablamos de la cultura también como un elemento de identidad, porque evidentemente la civilización egipcia ha sido fundamental para toda nuestra historia, es el origen de nuestra cultura también, y en este Museo de Málaga, precisamente en el que hoy nos acogemos, del que me siento muy orgullosa de formar parte del equipo, nos encontramos con unas colecciones impresionantes que habéis tenido ocasión de conocer y que nos muestran ese vínculo que ya existe desde muy antiguo entre nuestro espacio cultural y el antiguo Egipto. Yo les quisiera invitar a que revisiten nuestro museo, porque no dudo de que es un museo muy querido por la ciudadanía, muy visitado y en el que hay que volver con atención para tener distintas lecturas. Y la que yo hoy quería invitarles a revisitar desde este encuadre de 100 años de relaciones comerciales era precisamente el volver la mirada pues, hacia esos huevos de avestruz, por ejemplo, que nos hablan de un objeto exótico que aparece pues, en los ajuares funerarios, precisamente como un elemento simbólico, que nos recuerda pues, ese hálito de vida que está encerrado esperando a que el difunto de nuevo vuelva a la vida. Les invito a revisitar, por ejemplo, esos alabastrones inmensos, que también son objetos de la cotidianidad en Egipto, pero que desde aquí, desde nuestro espacio cultural, los reinterpretamos como elementos evidentemente de lujo, pero que también asociamos pues, a un elemento del más allá que dice mucho, ¿no? de esa concepción vital. Les invito a ver esos anillos, por ejemplo, en los que aparecen figuras egipciantes o esos ídolos de terracota como el dios, la deidad Bes, que aparece también en las colecciones del museo, el medallón de Trayamar. Verdaderamente, si hacen esa lectura atenta a ese mundo, a esa pequeña parte de Egipto que tenemos aquí en Málaga, comprenderán por qué hoy el marco para este acto de clausura no podía ser otro que el Museo de Málaga. Y nosotros absolutamente orgullosos de que alguien que representa lo mejor del antiguo Egipto y de la gestión actual del Egipto del siglo XXI, pues esté con nosotros para poner en evidencia esas relaciones comerciales, culturales, que se han dado siempre y que queremos que continúen. Así que bienvenidos y muchas gracias a todos, señoras y señores.
Bien, directora de Museos y Conjuntos Culturales de la Junta de Andalucía, querida Aurora, Francisco Martín, querido presidente de la Fundación Instituto de Estudios del Antiguo Egipto, estimado doctor Wasiri, secretario general del Consejo Supremo de Antigüedades en el Ministerio de Turismo, querida directora del museo, queridos amigos y amigas. Bueno, la Universidad de Málaga en este tipo de eventos no puede estar ausente y por eso cuando se nos invitó a participar y a colaborar con la Fundación Instituto de Estudios del Antiguo Egipto para la realización de esta jornada en particular, el rector estuvo encantadísimo de aceptar esa invitación. Lamentablemente, la agenda ha hecho coincidir, con motivo, como saben, del 50 aniversario de la Universidad de Málaga, el que el rector esté ahora recogiendo una placa de oro que se le concede a la universidad y yo he tenido la suerte y tengo el placer pues, de estar hoy aquí pues, sustituyendo a mi rector como vicerrector de estudios. Es más, como vicerrector de estudios, pues aún más tengo bueno, el privilegio de poder participar porque obviamente en un evento donde la cultura, en este caso la cultura egipcia, es protagonista, pues la Universidad de Málaga y los estudios de la Universidad de Málaga no pueden estar ajenos a ese tipo de eventos. El compromiso de la Universidad de Málaga con la Fundación y la colaboración con la Fundación viene ya de largo. Me consta que tenemos investigadores, tenemos aquí algunos de ellos y otros más que no han podido acompañarnos, que trabajan justamente y colaboran en las excavaciones que se están haciendo también desde la Fundación Instituto de Estudios del Antiguo Egipto y también colaboramos desde hace también ya muchos años becando incluso a nuestros propios estudiantes para que participen, para que puedan acudir a esas excavaciones y colaboren también con la Fundación en esas excavaciones y nuestros investigadores. Nos queda, por supuesto, mucho por hacer. Estábamos hablando antes, Francisco y yo, sobre bueno, por la necesidad de fortalecer a nivel de estudios pues aún más esos lazos y esa especialización en lo que es la egiptología, pero bueno, estamos dando pasos ya, de hecho participan personas como Francisco y Teresa de la Fundación muy intensamente o por lo menos de una forma sustancial en másteres que tenemos en la universidad, precisamente pues compartiendo su experiencia en el ámbito de la egiptología, en particular en un máster de Patrimonio Histórico y Literario de la Antigüedad. Es cierto que bueno, pues habría que participar, habría que plantearse el que la egiptología gane más protagonismo, incluso si cabe, con concursos más especializados, con líneas de investigación en los programas de doctorado, pero me consta que se está trabajando en esa línea. Por lo tanto, el compromiso de la universidad con este tipo de eventos es total y estamos dispuestos a seguir colaborando en esa línea. Para nosotros, para la Universidad de Málaga, es trascendental el tener esta colaboración con las instituciones y, en particular, cuando tenemos la posibilidad y la capacidad de obtener réditos a nivel de investigación, formación para nuestros estudiantes, que es lo que más nos importa a la universidad. Permítanme que dirija unas palabras en inglés también al doctor Ouassiri. Let me to say something in English to thank Dr. Ouassiri for sharing his expertise and his knowledge about the file in this conference. I appreciate the university, on behalf of the University of Málaga, we appreciate your visit and the sharing of this experience with us. Thank you very much. Eso es todo. Muchísimas gracias y espero que la conferencia pues, sea del agrado de todos, que estoy convencido que lo será, y aprendamos un poco más de Egipto y su antigüedad. Muchísimas gracias.
Muy buenas tardes. Señora Directora General de Museos y Conjunto Cultural de la Junta de Andalucía, doña Aurora Villalobos, señor Vicerrector de Estudios de la Universidad de Málaga, profesor Pimentel, and His Excellency Dr. Mustafa Ouassiri, General Director of the Supreme Permanent Committee of Antiquities of Egypt. Señoras y señores, es un placer y es un honor poder tener aquí al doctor Ouassiri y esta mesa tan bien compuesta, exponente del apoyo que Málaga, como ciudad cosmopolita que es, abierta al Mediterráneo y emblema de Andalucía, ha acogido en este momento para hacer este gran inicio de un futuro de colaboración que esperamos entre Egipto y Andalucía, España, pero Andalucía, en un futuro prometedor. La fundación del Instituto de Estudios del Antiguo Egipto, cuyo patronato está hoy aquí presente, doña María Luisa Calderón, vicepresidenta, doña Teresa Bedman, secretario, y yo mismo, hemos hecho el esfuerzo necesario como muñidores, como amparadores, como conectores entre Egipto y España. Y creo que lo hemos conseguido con todo éxito. ¿Gracias a quién? Gracias a la ayuda de la Junta de Andalucía en la persona de su consejero de Cultura, Turismo y Deportes, don Arturo Bernal, y gracias también a Stenda y al esfuerzo que han hecho por acoger este evento, además de la ayuda de la Universidad de Málaga, que también ha formalizado la invitación. Pero fundamentalmente, yo necesito dar las gracias, I need to give the thanks, al doctor Wasiri, and some other people, otras personas egipcias que han venido acompañándole, queridos amigos, porque si esto no hubiera sucedido, because if this don't happen, realmente hoy estaríamos haciendo un acto vacío. Today, this event will be without soul. Entonces, a mí me ha tocado, después de dar todas estas gracias, y gracias a todos ustedes por estar aquí, que es muy importante, porque son la muestra de que la ciudad responde. Así que muchas gracias, señoras y señores. Entre ustedes yo sé que hay alumnos y hay mucha gente que nos conoce, pero una vez que yo he dado las gracias protocolariamente, mi tarea va a ser corta, no demasiado, porque precisamente el doctor Wasiri va a hablarnos de sus trabajos, pero sí me corresponde con cierta legitimidad modesta, que se compadece con el largo trabajo de lo que era el Instituto de Estudios del Antiguo Egipto, ahora Fundación, en Egipto, desde el año 2000. Quiere decir que la carrera del doctor Wasiri y la nuestra han ido de alguna manera, no en paralelo, por supuesto, porque nosotros seguimos en el mismo nivel y él está en lo alto. Pero sí hemos compartido muchos momentos muy personales. Y yo creo que nosotros, yo en este caso que estoy aquí arriba, pero Teresa que comparte conmigo la experiencia en Egipto desde hace muchos años, y María Luisa vendrá ahora con nosotros, pero Teresa y yo hemos vivido muy junto al doctor Wasiri, incluso en la lejanía, porque claro, la diferencia de niveles en los cargos lo hace evidente. Entonces, mi papel, muy corto, quisiera ser corto para no quitarle tiempo a él, reside en hacer una mini semblanza de lo que nosotros consideramos, Teresa y yo, el perfil de un extraordinario arqueólogo, además de una persona que yo lo considero un patriota egipcio. ¿Por qué? Porque su gran objetivo, él ama la arqueología, él ahora está en un puesto, no es político, es técnico a nivel de ministro de Antigüedades, porque ahora es la cabeza de las Antigüedades de Egipto. Pero él decía en unas conversaciones hace un rato que él rehusó ser secretario general del Comité Permanente muchas veces. Y ya finalmente le presionaron y dijo, de acuerdo, yo lo acepto, pero con una condición. Yo puedo estar 3 días en la oficina. I can be in the office 3 days. Okay, every week. But the rest, I must be in the field. El resto de la semana, por favor, déjenme excavar. Eso nos habla del perfil de este hombre. Él se licenció entonces en la Facultad de Arqueología en el año 1988 del Cairo. Y directamente fue a las pirámides, a trabajar en el cementerio de los obreros de las pirámides, que eso fue un grandísimo descubrimiento por muchísimas razones. Pero ya su camino no paró. Es decir, en 1994 salta al Alto Egipto, que ahí es donde lo conocemos nosotros, donde lo conozco yo. Mi primer contacto con él fue, creo, en 2006. I remember you the first time in 2006, I suppose, in the Taftis of the East Bank, o sea, en la oficina del Banco Oriental, estuvimos allí, y ese fue mi primer día que yo lo conocí. Y desde entonces yo percibí, han pasado muchos años, porque él ha estado 25 años más hasta el día de hoy, trabajando en el Alto Egipto, pero ya en todo Egipto, ahora diré, pues desde entonces hubo cierto feeling, creo yo, entre ambos. Porque él sabe que nosotros amamos profundamente Egipto, respetamos la responsabilidad que nos ha entregado Egipto con la excavación que estamos llevando a cabo y los proyectos que hemos hecho, y coincidimos en sus objetivos, que es la restauración y preservación de los monumentos. La excavación y la documentación y la investigación científica es correcta, pero no. Eso es importante, porque él es un adalid, primero, de la egiptología egipcia. Él ha puesto en lo más alto, con su trabajo, con la incorporación de 50 equipos egipcios en el campo, excavando en los principales sitios de Egipto, bajo su dirección personal. Él ha puesto en evidencia el gran nivel de los profesionales egipcios, egiptólogos egipcios. Y él lucha fundamentalmente, aparte de por su pasión en la arqueología, por mostrar al mundo, pero a Egipto, el gran nivel técnico, la gran cualificación que poseen ellos mismos para tratar sus yacimientos y hacer las investigaciones en cooperación con las misiones extranjeras. Entonces, él ha continuado excavando por todo Egipto. Si yo tengo que decir ahora esto o aquello, pierdo el tiempo porque no lo va a explicar. Pero si yo digo todo Egipto, es todo Egipto. Del delta a Asuán, del este al oeste, de los desiertos al río. Hoy él realmente controla, desde el punto de vista científico, una cantidad de yacimientos importantes con unos descubrimientos magníficos que nos va a contar, que ponen en evidencia el poder, digamos, de la egiptología egipcia, que es egiptología mundial, para preservar un patrimonio que es de Egipto, pero es de todos. Entonces, bueno, a lo largo del tiempo ha habido anécdotas. I remember, doctor, when he was the general director of Valley of the Kings. En aquella época nosotros estábamos trabajando en la tumba de Senenmut, una maravilla. And suddenly the Minister of Culture of Spain arrived. Llegó nuestro ministro de Cultura, que era quien pagaba nuestra excavación, y le habían llevado primero a ver Seti I en el Valle de los Reyes. Then Dr. Wasiri ordered immediately, please take my car, somebody, I don't remember now, go to Francisco and bring him here, a la Tour. Entonces, bueno, esto es árabe, directamente. Quiero decir que en ese momento que nosotros estábamos un poco ajenos al protocolo, él se dio cuenta de que nuestro ministro había venido, que nuestra misión estaba allí y que el ministro venía precisamente a vernos a nosotros, pero lo habían desviado. Lo siento. Y él ordenó controlar y rectificar ese tema. Este es el doctor Wasiri. Thank you. I'm sorry. I finish. Then, for me, it's a big privilege to have you. Thank you so much, Doctor. Shukran Gazila, and welcome. Ahlan bik.
Thank you. Thank you. أيوة. Hello. Buenas tardes, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. I wish I could speak Spanish to make it as a direct speech from heart to heart. Thank you. The story of my life with Egyptology started when I was 11 years old. When I was 11 years old, I was in what we call it primary school. I had a trip to Luxor. I'm not from Luxor, but I'm from a countryside, something like 100 kilometers to the north of Luxor. It was, wow. This is what we call it, the curse of the pharaohs. So it was the first time for me to visit Karnak temples, 11 years old. I was standing in front of Ramses II statue. It's 11 meters. I was asking myself, Egyptians in ancient time, were that big? I didn't know. How about those letters, snakes, animals, birds? What does it mean? I did ask my teacher at the time, can you explain? He said, shh, stop, just enjoy it, and that's it. So I decided, since that time, when I finish my high school, I have to study archaeology. I finished my high school with a very high degrees. I could be a medical doctor, dentist, but I refused. I decided to take faculty of archaeology. Where? It was the only one in Cairo. 760 kilometers to Cairo. I went there, I studied, I found my love. I found my heart. When I finished, as Professor Francisco said, when I finished my study in the Faculty of Archaeology, I start working in pyramid area digging. I swear, I found stone after 3 days of working. Limestone. It looks nothing. All the horse carriages, all the camel riders, they were used to step on this block. I didn't like it. I said I have to clean the area. I have to take this block away. I tried to pull this one out. It was a bit heavy. I've got my trowel. I start cleaning. And then I tried to pull it up. It was still heavy. I asked one of the assistants to help me. And together, we lifted this one up. It was Sphinx. Can you imagine? It was like this for hundreds of years. All the people, they used to walk around, step on it, and they didn't care. I decided just to clean it. I didn't know what kind of stone is this one. It was Sphinx, something that big. But it was upside down. When I pulled this up, I found it Sphinx. So I had a feeling. So I started. The only thing that I can do in my life to dig and to reveal and to discover. That's it. That's why when Francisco told you, when I was appointed to be the head of the antiquities all over Egypt, I refused. I said no. How come? Instead of being the director of Luxor, you will be the director of all the antiquities all over Egypt. I said no. Because I hate to dress up in a suit and having the cigar and walking like this, which is me. Me? This one. This is the genes. This is Mustafa. What I want to show you this evening, recent discoveries and recent works. I believe that not that many people, they have seen what we're going to show you tonight. All of them are recent discoveries. Are they all what you discovered last year? No. This is only like this of what we discovered, because we don't have enough time. Otherwise, we would stay for days to talk about what we discovered. Luxor, the West Bank of Luxor. We call it Dara Abu Naga. This area, it's a virgin area. Nobody did touch the north one for quite long time. Little hole, start looking. It seems to me that it's untouched tomb. Yes, it is. It's untouched tomb. But this is not the entrance. This is a hole of what we call it the tomb robbers. Thieves. The thieves. Not the entrance made by the Egyptians in ancient time. Here it is, the corridor. But we can see something. Where is the pointer? Point. Do you have the pointer? No. Okay, no problem. Look at the open court. We can see the debris. This one. But here, it's the remains of the hand of the ancient Egyptian workers. So we have to take the debris out. Then the entrance. It was sealed, as you can see. When we opened, I had my face mask, not because of COVID. No, it has nothing to do with COVID-19 or something. This one because of the dust. This one because of the germs. This one because of the bacteria, which is very dangerous. When we open it, we found it like this. No. Because of the picture? Oh, yes. Okay. I like it like this. Very good. Thank you. Inside the tomb, we have a shaft like this with a rope and then going down. We can see some of the wooden coffins, which is something like 3,000 years old, well painted, well decorated, and we have to do what we call it first aid. We did announce the discovery. The foreign media, BBC, CNN, Reuters, Discovery, History Channel, and so on, and we were very happy. After the announcement, in unexpected way, we were cleaning because the visitors are coming. So we did hit another tomb in unexpected way. The other tomb, it was for a guy named Amun Imhat, the goldsmith guy. We found a lot of nice pieces. One of them, it was a wooden coffin, but it's back to the Middle Kingdom, Francisco. 4,000 years old, with sealed jars. Nobody to touch it. When we open it, it's obvious clear that's old Middle Kingdom. And the mummy. A mummy for a lady. This lady, she was a bit sick. She was lambing like this. So you can imagine the ancient Egyptians, they decided to mummify her body with the same shape. This looks a bit weird for a mummy. Inside the tomb, some of the objects. Another tomb, we call it Mati. Beautiful statue, wooden one. Osiris. We decided anything we discover, we are not willing to put it in the magazine. It should be displayed in museums. This one, for whom they're going to have the chance to visit Luxor, you will see it displayed in Luxor Museum. This is Valley of the Kings. Somebody still asking, do we still have royal tombs not discovered yet? The answer is yes. This is the tomb KV40. Next to this one, we can see remains of another tomb. When the excavation done, they found this wooden coffin. Look at this stela, this one. We did not do anything to the stela. What we did? Just we did blew the air. And then the stela like this. 3,200 years old. Who is she? Listen, she is Nehmet is past it, whatever the name. She's giving offers in front of the god Ra-Hur Akhti. She was a singer. She was singing. Hello, hello, hello. She was singing. What we can see above her head, this is what we call it the butter of flower, the perfume. Women in ancient time, they were taking a good care of their own beauty. Mirror, comb, brush, makeup, mascara, perfume. Those are the women in ancient time. They were taking good care of their own beauty. Open it, and then the mummy in a good shape. This one, it was the west bank of Luxor. How about the east bank of Luxor? This is Luxor Temple, the Temple of Luxor. This is very old picture. The picture shows that the entire temple was covered under sand. The plan explains that there were two statues sitting and 4 statues standing with 2 obelisks, 1 and 2. This is the plan. But the temple, it was like this. For whom they were in Egypt 3 years ago, the temple, it was like this. 1 obelisk, 2 statues, 1 standing. This one is broken. This is broken, and the 3rd one is broken. We have been thinking, can we reconstruct the statues? The statue is granite. The statue is 12 meters high. The statue is 65 tons, 1 single block of granite. The statue was broken into 57 pieces, like this. Here it is, the statue. Since when the statue is broken? 1,500 years, 1,500 years, 2,000 years? I don't know. Can we reconstruct the statue? It was really challenge. Reconstruct the statue inside the temple with no crane, no modern equipment. We have to think and we have to try. Our local guys from Gorna, Ramadan, those are the guys from Luxor, they have been challenging themselves that we will do it day and night. They were injecting, using epoxy to inject the blocks of the statue. They have been thinking it was like a puzzle. They tried to match the pieces next to each other. It was not an easy task, by the way. It was not an easy task. Two pieces. Are they matching? Probably yes. Here it is. With a cartouche, which bearing the name of the king Ramses II. Continue the work. Day and night. Egyptians, local guys with the jalaba, this long dress, try to lift the blocks up. Even women, they were participating in work. Try to lift the pieces up, almost the head. We spent 6 months of working day and night just to match the pieces on the ground. Oops. It's time to reconstruct the statue, which is not an easy task. Can we do it? We will see. Start with the head. Standing like this. The head was broken into 14 pieces. The head is 12 tons. Pink black granite. We have to support the foundation. Try one. No, it's matching. Here it is. Try to send this one. Try to support it. Day and night, as I've told you. Here, Mustafa. And then try to look at the little statue of the Queen Nefertari. Finally, we could lift the head up on the statue. And it was the day. It was April 18th, 2017. Why is that day? Because this is what we call it, the World Heritage Day. So it was a gift from Egypt to the entire world, celebrating with the statue like this. Everybody's being happy. Mustafa, his team, all of them, this lovely, round, brown, smiley faces. Minister of Antiquities, the governor, the assistant minister of Interior. We were very happy celebrating with erecting the statue back again to the original place. After that day, the Minister of Antiquities, he said, "You are good guys, but this one is still broken." We still have next year to celebrate with the second statue. What? He said, "I know that you can do it, guys. You will do it." Thank you. We did it. And then April 18th, 2018. And he said, "Okay, now it's enough." I said, "No, how come it's enough? You still have one more statue broken here." Okay, no problem. We will do it. And then we did it April 18th, 2019. And now we have the statues again as they were in ancient time. But I want to show you quickly. This one is before, and this is the situation nowadays in Egypt, in Luxor Temple. This is the one which you can see it in front of the Avenue of Sphinx. Good. Very good question. Do you know where is the second obelisk? It's in Plaza de Concorde in Paris. It was sent as a gift from Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, not the boxer. Muhammad Ali, the ex-king of Egypt. Muhammad Ali, he sent this obelisk to his friend, Louis Philippe, the president of, or the king of France at the time, in 1836. Anyhow, still in Place de Concorde, over there. How about this one? This is the virgin area that nobody did touch for 3,500 years. 3 hours driving from Cairo to in the middle of nowhere. Tens of miles of Sahara. We've got the 4-wheel car driving, and then with the feeling again, hey, guys, shall you stop the car? Yes. Why? Guys, we're gonna camp here. Here, in the middle of nowhere? Yes. We're gonna camp here for 6 months. We did camp for 6 months. We start to find all the beautiful pieces. This is what I like the most than this suit. This is what I like, to be dirt like this, to come out of the tomb, being very happy, holding those beautiful eyes, bronze, ivory, and black crystal. Bronze, ivory, and black crystal. In situ, canopic jars. 4 canopic jars. Francesco. امستي حابي دوامة اف قبح سنو اف. امستي with the face of human. حابي. One for the stomach, one for the lungs, one for the intestines, and one for the liver. Golden sheets. Canopic jars, well painted, well decorated. Another wooden, limestone coffins. Alabaster canopic jars. Amulets. Faience. Shawabti. How many? 10,000 statues. 10,000 statues, they were in one place. We sent 1,000 to Luxor Museum, 2,000 to Sharm el-Sheikh Museum, and in our magazine, we still have 7,000. I'm asking the museums, do you want some? They said, no, we have enough. So now we have full of statues. Saqqara, where we have the step pyramid, this is my baby. Saqqara is my baby. Since long time, nobody discovered anything in Saqqara. And then we went there in 2018 with the big mountain of debris, dirt, sand, mud, clay, whatever. And then we had to work for 7 months, taking all the debris out. We found beautiful pieces. The first box, this one, a little one, we decided to open. And when we decided to open it, we found mummified scarab. Mummified scarab. We did ask all of our colleagues in the international museums, Metropolitan Museum, Louvre Museum, Hermitage Museum, Leiden Museum, Terwari Museum, Malaga Museum. Do you have a mummy of a scarab? They said, we never heard about it. So it's one of its kind. This is the only one on earth discovered in Saqqara by the Egyptian mission. Thank God I was the head also of this team. Another box with hundreds but dry scarabs. This is the masterpiece of Saqqara. It was sealed. When we opened it, we found Wahti, the tomb, well painted, well decorated with 65 statues, carved out of the mountain. We can see beautiful statues talking about daily life scenes. The tomb is closed. Sometimes we do special opening. Here it is, the tomb like this. 4,000 400 years old. Saqqara, the debris is like this, just sand. When you take the sand out, we found the cachette. Cachette, Nascondilis? Huh? Nascondile? Nascondice? Consendices, whatever. Translate. Okay, we found the cachette of 500 mummified cats. 500 mummified cats. Some of them are on display in Sharm el-Sheikh Museum. Some lovely, beautiful mummies like this. Ibis, crocodile, scarab, mummified cats, but suddenly we found the big one. What is this? It's a baby lion, a lion cub, 8 up to 10 months old. That baby. Lion cub? But come on. I've been working in this field for 30 years. I never heard about the mummy of a lion cub. So we had to call again our international colleagues, international museums. Do you have a mummy of a lion cub? They said no. A mummy of a lion cub? They said we never heard about it. So again, it's what? Again, it's one of its kind. It's unique. What kind of mummy is this one? It's a mongoose. A mongoose. Mangosa? Mangosta. It's one of its kind, mangosta. Continue our excavations. Take the debris out. We didn't care about heat, about cold, about COVID-19. We kept working. We found wooden coffins, well painted, well decorated. They were like this. Wooden statue, back to the Old Kingdom. This one inlaid with gold. Some beautiful statues, golden faces, as you can see. And then in 2020, we have top 10 discovery. We were #1 discovery all over the world. In one of the most famous magazine, we call it Archaeology, because of our discovery. San al-Hagar. San al-Hagar, it's a town 150 kilometers to the northeast of Cairo. We went there, we found everything is broken. The statues broken, the obelisks broken, the columns broken. This was 3 years ago. We've got our crane. We start lifting the blocks, and then we decided to reconstruct the obelisks. The obelisk, 21 meters, 19 meters, 17 meters. Weight is 150 tons. Can you reconstruct the obelisk? Yes. We try to match the pieces like this. And this is one of the obelisks that we did reconstruct in Tahrir Square. This is me up there. I was very happy. It was the moment of my life. Tahrir Square. It was like this. And then after a couple of months, we decided to reconstruct the obelisk in one of the most famous squares. This one. And we brought four sphinxes surrounding Tahrir. This is the Tahrir Square. They made a reception for what we call it the royal parade of the royal mummies. The royal mummy parade, which started from Cairo Museum and then surrounding this one. Okay, how about Abu Rawash? Different name, near to the pyramid. We went to make excavations. We found this one What do you think about this? It looks a bit strange. Yes, it is. Continue our excavations. It was a statue. It was the head of the statue again. Here it is. And then continue the excavations. Up, up. Huh? The statue now in the Grand Egyptian Museum. The Grand Egyptian Museum. El Asasif. Asasif. It's the name of the village in the West Bank of Luxor. Excavations, debris, taking the debris out, workers being very happy, and then suddenly we start to find a beginning of a wooden coffin. We took all the debris out, then we found the line of wooden coffins. Continue. No, it seems to me that they are big, bigger than one level. So they are one level, and then another level, and then maybe there is something also beneath it. We did continue the work, and up, we invited the Minister of Antiquities to come. We were standing, Egyptian team, being very happy. One level, another one, and maybe there is one down there. Wow, we have to continue our excavations. We continue, and we decided to open the coffins to figure out what's inside. The mummies in perfect condition of preservation. The wooden coffins were painted out and also inside the coffin. Painted outside the coffin and inside the coffin. Here it was such a nice speech. Here is the Minister of Antiquities at the time. Here is Professor Zahi Hawass. This is me. We were talking about something. It's many stuff. Many stuff. Back to Valley of the Kings. Luxor is a little bit hot in summertime. In summertime. Just to make it up for the Spanish groups who they like Luxor and they like to come in Luxor in summertime, we said, why can't we open our sites by night? Our antiquities site by night. Instead of, heat, sun, whatever. I know Spanish people, they like the antiquities site. So, we did illuminate Luxor Temple by night. Here is Luxor Temple by night. This is Hatshepsut in the West Bank, also by night. Ramesseum, the mortuary temple of the king Ramses II temple by night. Valley of the Kings by night with beautiful ceiling colors. Okay. Show us, Mustafa, what did you do to show the temples as they were in ancient time? Because they were full of soot, dirts, and we cannot see the colors. Okay, listen. Egyptian women are very calm, very quiet. They have the passion. They use the tissue, mora, to take all the soot, all the dirt out of the wool to show the colors. So I'm going to show you quickly some pictures before and after. This one is before, after cleaning. Before, after. Before cleaning, after cleaning. Here, the guys, they told me, climb up on this scaffold. We'd like to show you something. Please do. This is the fridge of Kubra. This one is before cleaning, after cleaning. Good. Where the Egyptians got their own colors? They got it from Valley of the Pigments colors. The Valley of the Pigments, Valley of the Colors. Where is that? Next to Hatshepsut. So we send one of the guys, one of our workers there. Here is the black. This is what we call it red. The red color. And they got his own hammer, and they cut one of the piece. Aha, those are the red colors that they used. And how about this one? This is the yellow color, yellow pigment, yellow color. Here it is. You know, the Egyptians in ancient time, they got their own colors from different kind of stones, whatever. They've got the white color from limestone, from crushing the limestone. Light blue color from turquoise. dark blue color from lapis lazuli. They had to mix those colors with egg white. Egg white. After mixing those one with the egg white, they start painting. After painting, they still have the egg yolk. صفار البيض. Egg yolk. Yema. The egg yolk, yema. They had to mix the yema with wax for a varnish. So, egg white for coloring. And then the egg yolk, the egma, with wax for a varnish to isolate this one away from there. Karnak. And also the same story of the colors. For whom they have been in Luxor. Now you can see for the first time the pillars well painted, well decorated as it was in ancient time. We did not clean. We just took the soot, the dirt out. Before working, after. Before and after. Before and after. Look at this one. Look at this one. Keep looking. I like it the most. Again. Again. This one also, I like it the most. Look. I have time. Okay, this one. Before and after. How about the excavations of the Sphinx? We decided long time ago to check out if they have statues or not beneath the ground. Yeah, we found the statues in good shape. Good. And we have two temples. One there is Karnak, and one on the other side is Luxor temple, and they were connected with the Sphinx. But the problem is the houses, the hotels, the government building, the religious building, what have to do? In fact, we decided to compensate the people and then say thank you to all of them and to make excavations. Look at this one. This one is before, after. You got it? Again. This one is before and after. We did move all those houses. We give them money, of course, compensating. This one again, before and after. And then, here the excavations. Then, 8 kings and queens, they have been working. And this is what we call it, the Sphinx parade in Luxor. And it was very, very important one. Those are two lovely events that we have done, which is the Royal Mummy Parade and the Sphinx one. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Did you understand almost what I've told you? Was it okay for English explanation? How about the translation? Was it okay also, the translation? Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to be hypocrite, but honestly, I love Spanish people. Why? Because they do appreciate the culture. they do appreciate the Egyptian history. Nowadays, we do have thousands of Spanish people in Luxor and Aswan. Francisco, when he told me, Mustafa, you are invited to come to Malaga. I said, why? He said, because in Malaga, we have decided to make it as the culture hub, culture city. Culture, yes. I was very happy. I said I can come immediately and I can participate with the people that I like, who do appreciate our cultures. Are they the only Spanish people, they like the culture? No. I like also the French people, they like cultures. German, Americans. They really like culture. We do have different nationalities. They are coming to Egypt, yes. We have Russians, Ukrainians, Serbian, Lithuanian, Italian, but most of them, they like sea. Okay, they are the most welcome. They like to come to Sharm el-Sheikh. They are the most welcome. They like to come to Hurghada. They are the most welcome. But for me, I'm archaeologist. I'm Egyptologist. I like people to come and see our culture, to see the temples. One of the lovely surprises, one of the lovely news, October, this coming one, 31 of October, you will have the first charter flight from Malaga directly to Luxor. From Malaga to Luxor. Is it going to be only one flight? Every Monday, every week, there is flight from Malaga to Luxor. Okay, Mustafa, wait a minute. Can we book for this October 31? Sorry, full seats. Look at the Malaga, look at the Spanish people. When they start saying that we have a flight going to Luxor, it's full. Anyhow, thank God that we have 3 great gentlemen here. They are dealing with the Spanish people for more than 30 years. I said, you're not trying to deal with Americans? No, they said, it's our market. They like the Spanish markets. They know how to deal with the market. That's why 3 of them, they speak fluently Spanish language. Mr. Walid, Mr. Muhammad, and Mr. Muhammad, who those are the guys, they participated, 3 of them, they hired charter flights from Malaga to Luxor every week. Those are the gentlemen, so a big hand for those 3 gentlemen. Off! off يا عم الحاج. بص وراك. Now we did clap. Huh? Are you going to give a big discount for Malaga people for the flight? Big discount. Yes or no? Big discount. Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy. I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm not going to say goodbye because I hate this word. But I'm going to say see you because I'm quite sure that I'm going to see you in Egypt. Why you are sure? Because we are expecting new lovely surprise in Egypt. It's going to be the gift from Egypt to the entire world in the century number 21. What kind of gift? The opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum next year. Do you know how big? 117 hectares. Now say it in meters. 500,000 square meters. Wow. It needs 1 day to visit the museum. 3 days. But what can we see new there? The whole collection of Tutankhamun for the first time will be displayed in one museum. How big is this collection? 5,398 pieces. But before that, we had a couple of hundred in Luxor Museum, couple of thousand in Cairo Museum, couple of thousand in Magazine Museum, but for the first time, you will see all of them well displayed with modern technology in the Grand Egyptian Museum. Are you gonna like it? Of course. You will never ever gonna forget the visit to the Grand Egyptian Museum for the rest of your life. Trust my word. عايز تقول ايه يا استاذ محمد؟ عايز تقول ايه؟ Please, please. Okay. When we start clapping to the gentlemen, now we have got we have got very good news. He is offering something for free. ببلاش, for free. But without translation, because he's going to say it in Spanish. Say it. دي أحسن.
Seguro, como doctor Mustafa está aquí, entonces tenemos que regalar a Málaga, por parte nuestra, 4 plazas por una semana en Egipto. Son 2 parejas. Tenemos que buscar la manera de sortearlo para 2 parejas que lo vamos a dar el servicio en Egipto. Ustedes se preocupan por cómo llegar. Nosotros al llegar lo recibimos con los brazos abiertos, con 4 noches de crucero, 3 noches en el Cairo. Decidan ustedes la manera del sorteo. Decidan ustedes la manera del sorteo. Se puede sortear, según lo que he visto, que los nombres están, Flor, los nombres están ahí. Entonces, ¿cómo podemos sortearlo? Lo deciden ustedes. احنا هناخد 4 افراد، انا هاخد كابل ومحمد حسن هاخد كابل. احنا هنديهم
بالطيران؟
لا من غير طيران. قلت له كده؟ قلت له انا هديهم الامن في مصر 4 ليالي فول و3 ليالي في القاهره، وهم يقطعوا طيرانهم ويجوا وعلى حسب طيرانهم هيجي حسب الخطوط. ويكون الاول بالنقص الاول لا لا ما احنا على الساعه القادمه. لا شكرا. بس يقولوا انه ده كده
Okay, I'll tell you something to make it easy. Francisco, you have the flowers. You have the names of all everybody, right? I don't know the names, right? What am I gonna do? I will do it like this. Okay? Give me the list. Give me the, okay, you have the numbers. Give me the list. Everybody knows which number? No. Now, give me, no, we have to make it clear. Give me the list. And then I will start, listen, I will start looking at the list in front of you. And then I will put it like this. Which number? This number something. And then number something, we're going to mention his name or her name. But do they have to be couples?
That's why we have to choose 2 names, and the name has the right to choose the other person.
No. How about in case, are you translating? How about in case they said 2 couples? How about in case if one name was a girl and the other one is a man. We can switch. Or what? What can we do?
Lo que estaban pensando es elegir una persona y la persona elige la
We will
persona
see.
que viaja con él. Es más lógico, ¿no? Entonces vamos a elegir dos. Flor, she went to bring the list. Ah, muy bien. ¿Que haga la clausura primero? Sí.
يا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم دي أهم. Ladies and gentlemen, I just received a nice cadeau, a nice present from this gentleman. He gave me a nice catalogue of the Museum of Malaga, which I like it, and he gave me also a very nice present from also, I think, the foundation of Institute of Malaga, the Egyptian Institute, which is really nice present, and something here. Who can tell me what is this?
He can tell you. Usted es el único que sabe lo que está dentro.
I'll open it.
اللي احنا شفناه في المتحف كان فيه ايه؟
فيل كان فيها فيل.
ميدل اللي احنا شفناها النهارده الصبح. اللي هي كانت معموله العمي كمان.
Oh, wow. Is it silver one or fake? Silver or fake? Silver or fake? Original? It's original, whatever. I like it. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. ¿Hay حاجة؟
Buenas tardes. Clausura el acto el secretario general de Cultura de la Junta de Andalucía.
Hola, buenas noches. Secretario General del Consejo Supremo de Antigüedades del Ministerio de Turismo y Antigüedades del Gobierno de Egipto, doctor Mustafa Wasiri. Vicerrector de la Universidad de Málaga, Ernesto Pimentel Sánchez. Directora General de Museos y Conjuntos Culturales de la Junta de Andalucía, estimada y querida Aurora Villalobos. Y, por supuesto, mi amigo personal, que es Paco Martín Valentín, que es el presidente de la Fundación Instituto de Estudios del Antiguo Egipto. Disculpen el tono de mi voz, pero la tengo un poco mal esta noche, como habrán notado. Estos actos generalmente tienen un componente formal que evidentemente voy a respetar, como no podía ser de otra manera, pero sí me gustaría señalar esta noche, antes de hacer una pequeña reflexión sobre este foro, de lo que ha sido la historia de la egiptología en Málaga. Y sí me gustaría ensalzar el papel de Teresa Bedman, que hace casi 9 años llegó a Málaga cuando yo dirigía la térmica y me contó y me transmitió su entusiasmo por la egiptología y la necesidad de que en la ciudad se tuviera conocimiento y tuviera presencia junto a Paco, que han estado tanto tiempo trabajando. Creo que es de justicia señalarles porque han hecho mucho por la egiptología en Málaga. Esta aventura hace 9 años, hoy estamos aquí gracias a ellos y creo que es de justicia reconocerlo y ensalzarlo. Y también me gustaría señalar a Ana Jorquera, que está entre el público, a nuestra delegada editorial Gemma del Corral. Ana Jorquera pues, ha sido un poco la tutora de este proyecto con ellos desde hace, creo que son 9 años, ¿no, Teresa? ¿Perdón? 10 de enero, efectivamente. Bueno, pues mi agradecimiento eterno y mi satisfacción por veros a todos hoy aquí con nosotros. Es para mí una satisfacción representar a la Junta de Andalucía en la clausura de este foro de Egiptología y Acción Exterior. Andalucía y Málaga vuelven a ser un lugar de encuentro y diálogo para favorecer la colaboración empresarial, comercial y turística. Como hemos tenido hoy la oportunidad de reconocer y divulgar los avances que desde Málaga se han ido dando en la generación y transmisión de conocimiento en el campo de la egiptología. Lo acabo de señalar y también es importante resaltar que el trabajo que ha hecho este instituto en Málaga ha tenido una gran dimensión y se ha trabajado desde el público más pequeño, que ellos lo saben, hasta el adulto y el académico universitario. Por lo tanto, creo que es una deuda de la ciudad, como les dije antes, reconocer el trabajo inmenso que han hecho Teresa, Paco, toda la gente de la térmica y en concreto, como les dije antes, Ana Jorquera. Quería concluir el acto comunicándoles además que desde el Gobierno andaluz y desde esta Secretaría General para la Cultura creemos que foros como este son el camino a seguir para la colaboración entre administraciones y entidades culturales con el compromiso común de generar conocimiento y progreso para la sociedad. Consideramos que es muy importante y necesario reconocer la contribución de la cultura para el desarrollo, la actividad económica y la generación de oportunidades. De ahí que sea un acierto dedicar, en el marco de un foro empresarial como el que clausuramos con este acto, un tiempo y un lugar para hablar de cultura con mayúsculas. Quiero terminar agradeciendo a todos los que han hecho posible la celebración de este foro, a la empresa pública andaluza de promoción exterior que ha promovido las jornadas técnicas celebradas esta mañana muy cerca de aquí, a la Universidad de Málaga que tanto ha hecho por incorporar la historia del Antiguo Egipto a su oferta educativa y, como no, al Instituto de Estudios del Antiguo Egipto. Y, por supuesto, a todos los que con su presencia, reflexiones y aportaciones han enriquecido este foro, que ha sido para nosotros un placer clausurar esta noche en el Museo de Málaga. Muchas gracias.
Okay, number 7. Who's number 7? You don't know the numbers? Okay, read the name. Mention the name. Number 7.
Thank you. Sí. Ana Delia González Jiménez. Número 7.
Nara, the question is, can you come without Ramadan? Yes? Without him? Okay, good. Can you come here, please? Yeah, you're number 7, huh? What's your name again? What's your name?
7.
Ana Delia.
Sí, Ana Delia, como hemos dicho.
100.
Raquel Vilchez Requena. Repito, Raquel Vilchez Requena.
Raquel is a man or a woman or a woman? تعال Raquel. Raquel. This is number 100?
100 is.
The question is, have you ever been to Egypt? Yes? How many times? She's working with you? No. Then it's not good. Thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. If you're working, and you working also? Okay, come. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have a boyfriend?
Sí.
Where is he?
Here.
What's his name?
Alain.
Alain? Alain! His name is Alain?
Sí.
Alain? A boyfriend, come. So we still have to find another two.
This is him.
Number 54?
Yes. This is him.
Okay. Have you ever been to Egypt? No? Thank God. Now we've got free trip to Egypt. So we need another two? Another couple. – 75, 76.
María Herranz Pinacho. María Herranz Pinacho.
And who is? Excuse me. Who are you alone? Huh? Alone.
Alone.
And 70 what? 75 and 70 what? 76.
76.
Ah.
María Isabel Andrade Ita.
Wait. Is she also working with you? No. Thank you. No, it's not good. It's not good to that. No. This. Do you have excuse me? Do you have a boyfriend?
No, but I can go with my sister.
You have a sister?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What's the name of your sister?
Laura. But
Laura.
she's not here.
Okay. She has a sister and her name is Laura. Okay. Four of you. Congratulations. Thank you.